A man is seen walking into an alley flooded with red lights. His face is on several posters with the name Eclipso. He's walking carefreely, but unbeknownst to him, he's being followed. His stalkers advance, leaving him unconscious, and kidnap him. Next, he opens his eyes, and he's in a strange bed, and hears beeping sounds. He can't move. There's a syringe at his elbow, and the person beside him looks to be on the brink of death. In a world full of superheroes, our story starts in Paris with our protagonist, who has been on the decline for the last 10 years, and seems a tad fed up with life, rummaging for food in his apartment and hanging out with his cat. We later find out that he is Lieutenant Moreau, a cop with close ties to superheroes. As he finishes his cereal, Moreau gets a call concerning a fire incident at a club. He gets to the scene late and meets a woman, Cecile Schultzman. After working at the scene, he returns to the station and finds out from the chief, Chermont, that she's his new partner. Neither is enthusiastic about the partnership, but they have no choice in the matter. Chermont demands they work together, and while they are coming to terms with this, a call comes in, reporting a hostage situation at a high school involving fire. We see high schoolers running helter-skelter as a boy shoots flames at his fellow students. One girl in particular, with blue laser eyes as a superpower, is scared and running. Unfortunately, she bumps into another high schooler as she runs into the bathroom to hide. A man we later know as Rudy, a criminal. Moreau and Schultzman rush to the scene, and acting on instinct, Moreau drops his weapons and confronts the teenage high schooler. The student is so upset and is throwing flames at anyone close by, but Moreau recognizes that he's just a frightened child trying to get back at his bullies. Moreau then diffuses the situation by reminding him that he still has his future ahead of him. He then relented and let the police take him. Further investigation reveals that 2 vials of an orange substance were found on the scene. Orange, the color of fire. Coincidence? I think not. Schultzman has concerns about the flamethrower vials. She's convinced there's a bigger picture and that the 2 arson cases might be connected. She silently questions whether more than one person is born with the same superpower. Moreau shuts that hypothesis down, saying that you either have superpowers or you don't, and that 2 people can only have the same superpowers if they are related. A new scene shows a young man holding the flamethrowers and talking to another boy. Theirs is obviously a drug dealer and biodynamic. A bunch of kids are gathered in an alley, holding the flamethrowers. The first girl breaks the vial, inhales the drug, and goes on to shoot fire out of her hands. The others follow her lead, and soon they have a lot of fun with this short-lived superpower. Next, we see Moreau buying groceries and going to visit a friend. Monte Carlo is a superhero and an old friend. He used to be part of a superhero group, Pac Royal, and together with Moreau, they fought against crime. But between Monte Carlo's issues with Parkinson's and one of the members dying, the group faded away. Monte Carlo has a very reliable database of superheroes, and the boy from the high school is nowhere to be found. Turns out the person with that superpower was Bracero, a 42-year-old man, and not the teenager we presumed him to be. Moreau was on a quest for answers, so he went to another superhero for help, Callista. She wasn't particularly forthcoming, but here we find out that she has the power of sight and visions. She can see flashes of the future. A former member of Pac Royal, she now runs the Hero Tracker network and helps local youths. She's also worked with Bracero in the past, but doesn't seem to know anything about him currently, nor is she willing to help find him. In a twisted turn of events, Moreau gets a call, and it seems Bracero is no longer missing, except he's at the morgue, his body a burnt mess. Cause of death, exsanguination. The coroner helps us understand that this means his blood was drained out of him until he died. This explains the scenes we saw at the beginning of the movie. But what exactly was happening? Schultzman and Moreau immediately start tracing Bracero's steps to find out exactly what happened to him, and find something to explain the events surrounding other people using his powers. They talk to his former employers, therapists, and people who knew him but hit another dead end. until Moreau notices something interesting. In the videos of the club fire incident, there were 6 injured people, but only 5 were reported injured and taken to the hospital. Moreau took this to mean the man in the video had something to hide, so along with Skult's man, he tracked him down to another hospital and tried to get the truth from him without much success. Skult's man then tricks him into believing the drug is poisonous and promises an antidote if he tells them what they need to know. He eventually leads them to a guy named Ismail, his dealer. They find Ismail and decide to ambush him at his apartment. Unfortunately, when he entered the building, one of his neighbors warned him, and he took off. After a long chase, they caught him and took him to the police station. That didn't do a lot of good, as no one could get him to talk. So they let him go. Time passes, and even more interesting events occur. There's a new superpower drug on the market, which gives people the ability to make others blind. This is Eclipso's power, the man we see kidnapped in the very first scene. Ismail and his gang are back for whatever reason, and they vandalize the station. One of them corners Scott's man and almost has her thrown to the ground floor, which would have led to her death, but Moreau steps in and does the most unusual thing. He reaches out just as she's falling, and his hand passes through her. Next, we see her body floating softly toward the ground. Ismail and his gang see this, get spooked, and run. Turns out Moreau has a superpower as well. Now, we meet our antagonist, a troubled entrepreneur with a gang of men who kidnap people with interesting superpowers, extract them through their blood, and sell them to people. Remember Rudy? Rudy is one of his men, and we see the boss scolding everyone except Rudy. Rudy had proven his loyalty by connecting recent missing drug merchandise to Ismail's disappearance. The boss sends the remaining men to find Ismail, and after that, Rudy tells him about Lily, the girl with the blue laser superpower. And the boss tells him he wants her powers. The men eventually find Ismail, and the boss gets rid of him, but not before he tells them about Moreau's superpower. In the next scene, we see Rudy approaching Lily. He befriends her and gives her the number of a therapist we later find out was Brasiro's therapist as well. As Moreau and Skult's man are working on their case, Lily's mum rushes to the police station, meets with Moreau, and tells him that Lily's missing. Moreau immediately rushes to their apartment to find any clues that might lead to her disappearance. And after a thorough search, he finally finds a note that contains the number Rudy gave Lily. Before he can follow up, he's ambushed and injected by the criminals and then carried out of the apartment. Fortunately, Callista and Skult's man are close by and see this happen. Unconscious, Moreau weighs the car down with his powers as the criminals try to leave, but Callista and Skult's man make their move. The fight is a tough one. Rudy, finally realizing Moreau is the reason they can't get away, shoots him thrice, throws him out on the ground, and flees. Moreau uses his power to levitate the bullets out of his chest and passes out. Callista and Skult's man rush him to Monte Carlo's home, where he can recuperate. While Moreau is unconscious but on the mend, the three work together to finally unravel the loose ends and solve every element of mystery. Starting with the note Skult's man found in Moreau's pocket, they connect to Brasiro and find out it's the same therapist that specializes in treating people with superpowers, Elizabeth Kagiri. They immediately send Monte Carlo to plant a microphone so they can get a lead on Lily's whereabouts. It finally pays off, and they realize the backstory is not as simple as they thought. The villain in this story is actually a victim of other people's actions. When Matthias Najarowski, aka Naja, was 10 years old, his parents wanted to eliminate his superpowers. Born to parents without powers, Naja seemed to be losing his handle on the superpowers, so his parents took the easy route and wanted them gone. The doctor they were working with, Elizabeth Kagiri, Naja was losing his mind due to the loss of his power and was in constant pain. Feeling guilty and indebted, Elizabeth teaches Naja how to extract other people's powers to help him stay afloat. But he turned it into a very lucrative business in addition. Elizabeth didn't seem to mind. But it turns out she drew the line at killing a 15-year-old girl. So she called the police. Upon hearing this, Monte Carlo, Corlister, and Skultzmand knew they had to do something. If normal policemen went there, they'd get slaughtered by Naje's gang. So they decided to head there first. The criminals had split up. When Monte Carlo and the other two get there, they engage in a bitter fight with Naje's men. While this is happening, Naje actually thinks he's going to get away with Lily until Moreau shows up and takes him down. Well, more like he literally took him up. And since Naje seems to have overdosed on Lily's powers, he combusted in the air, leaving a spray of remains in his wake. The superheroes and Skultzmand quickly vanish, so they don't make the news. Everyone is safe, but there are some questions. Who is Lily? Lily is Gigamon's daughter, a former member of the Pack Royal who died in the line of duty. Since Moreau couldn't save him, he blamed himself for the death. In the end, Moreau loses his job. Police officers aren't allowed to have superpowers, but gains a lover as he and Skultzmand finally get together. She also became the new liaison officer while he became a new superhero titan. And everyone got their happy ending. What do you think of a world full of everyday superheroes? Yay or nay? Let us know in the comments.